This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and next week is Gencon in Indianapolis. Can't wait to get there and be around all the buzz and the craziness. Now this is the second video of some anticipation videos and videos about the games that are releasing at Gencon. I've done a lot of research. Thanks to Board Game Geek for putting together a great list that you can go through and filter and search. I use that a lot to do a lot of my research, so thank you fellas over there and ladies. So I've already released a video a few days ago that were my top games at Gen Con that are releasing. They're brand new, that I've already played. I've had the privilege of playing them. Most of those games would have been on this list, which is my top 10 most anticipated games of Gen Con, but about half of those were ones that I just recently got a chance to play, so they moved over to a list that is even more tried and true than this list, which is ones I've already played, and I love them and I want you to know about them. So if you haven't seen that video, I placed a link below me in this video, and you can check that one out. So this video is going to be ones that just seem interesting to me for one reason or another, and I'll describe what the game is and why I'm interested. And so let's take it away. Let's go to number 10.
Number 10.
All right, the first one here we'll talk about is based upon a series of games that I love. They came out long time ago and they were re-released, the Kill Dr. Lucky. There's a new version of this game coming out. It's a standalone game called The Island of Dr. Lucky. Now, Dr. Lucky is sort of a fun older game that you're going around and you're trying to be able to see Dr. Lucky and kill him, and you're trying to play funny cards with funny flavor text, and each time you attempt them, other people have to sort of take it in the shorts and stop you from doing it. But every time you get stopped, you get stronger and stronger, so the game has a sort of a rush to the end of trying to kill Dr. Lucky. It's a fun little board game of manipulating around. But now he's on the island, and so now you can take advantage of, there's these new hazard cards like the fire pit, the hunting snare, the hammerhead crabs, and now you can hit Dr. Lucky from anywhere else on the map using these hazards. Now hazards aren't as strong as sort of the normal murder attempt, but they give you faster movement for the rest of the game, a little play in the mechanism that's in this one, so it has a little twist. You can also throw hazards at other players, which will be cool. So I like the series of Dr. Lucky. There was a card game called Get Lucky, which was a streamlined version. I love that. And this one's sort of in a new setting with some new mechanisms. So it's just a fun little family game to play. So I want to check out what this new version is, and that's The Island of Dr. Lucky, and that's from Cheap Ass Games.
Number 9.
Next one is called War Chest. It's from AEG. It's for 2 to 4 players. It's 30 minutes. Now this is being called sort of a bag building tactical war game. And I'm not usually big on war games, but when this has bag building, which I like. So you're gonna be drafting different units. There's many different units you can choose from. So you're gonna draft some units that are gonna be in your army, and all of them sort of work in a different way. And not only will you be managing the armies on the battlefield that you put out there, but you'll also be managing those that are being waited to deploy. So you're gonna be drawing 3 coins from your bag, and then using those to perform different actions, like placing troops on the board, or discarding it to activate troops of that type on the board, or putting them on top of troops that are the same type and making them a little bit stronger by bolstering and things like that. So it's very interesting. It looks like it's a very tactical game, but you can play 2-player or all the way up to 4-player, and you're trying to place all your control markers out on the board, and everyone else is trying to do everything else. Now, if you look at the cards in this game, it reminds me very much of like the Duke or Onitama, where you have these very simple movements, and this looks like it's going to be one of those games that is like takes a minute to learn, but like it takes a lifetime to really master, and that has a lot of replayability built in between the drafting and the different sets that you'll get. It looks like it's going to be ever expandable, so it just looks like a really cool sort of quick style abstracted game that has that bag building in there. So this looks really cool to me, and that's War Chest from AEG.
Number 8.
The next one is a heavier game. It's called Brass Birmingham, and this is from Roxy Games. It's 2 to 4 players. It takes 2 to 3 hours. Now the original Brass was designed by Martin Wallace. This is sort of an economic sequel to that. And they're coming out with a new version of the original as well, called Brass Lancashire. And so in this game, you're essentially competing entrepreneurs during the Industrial Revolution between 1770 and 1870. And you're trying to build and establish your industries and your networks to exploit low or high market demands. And I typically love economic games, especially if they're even a little bit heavier. That's okay, I like those. And so it's a little bit different from the original version, where now there's new ways to sell your products, there's 3 new industry types, and it offers a different story arc and experiences from, the predecessor. And so many of the tried and true strategies are no longer as powerful as before, and new strategies are waiting to be discovered. And again, I like heavier economic games. And the original game is amazing. I've heard the new version of the original game is even better. And I've heard this is sort of one that kind of takes it down a different road. And so I'm just really interested to try this out, because I've actually never even played the original. So either Brass Lancashire, the original, the new version of the original, or Brass Birmingham. I'm going to be checking both of those out at Gencon.
Number 7.
The next one is Railroad Inc. This is from Horrible Games. It's for 1 to 6 players. It takes 30 minutes, and it's a roll and write game. Now, this is done by the same design team that did Dragon Castle, which was one of my favorite games of last year. These designers know what they're doing. What you're trying, and I love roll and write games. So you've got me on designers, you've got me on the type of game it is, and I like trade games too. So you've got me in all 3 areas there. I'm hooked. So what you're trying to do is connect as many exits on your board as possible. You're trying to determine which kind of road and railway routes that are available to everybody else. And you're trying to draw these routes on your own erasable board. And you're trying to create sort of like transport lines and connect your exits. And you're trying to optimize the available symbols better than your opponents. Now, the more exits that you're able to connect, the more points you'll be able to score at the end of the game, but you'll be losing points for each incomplete route. So it sounds like you're kind of pressing your luck a little bit there as well. Now, it actually comes in 2 different versions, a red version and a blue version. Deep Water for the blue version, and each version includes 2 expansions with additional dice sets that add special rules to the game. For example, the red one is called the Blazing Red Edition. It includes the lava and meteor expansions. Well, you'll try to confine the lava from coming and erupting volcano before it destroys your routes, or deal with the havoc brought by the meteor strikes and try to mine the craters for precious ore. So each of them has their own little theme, and each of them has their own little expansions that do different things. So I'm going to want to pick up both of these, and that's essentially the Railroad Inc. from Horrible Games.
Number 6.
The next one is Symphony No. 9. This is for 2 to 4 players. Plays in about an hour. It's from Moedius Game Design. Now, you got me at theme because I'm a musician, so I'm interested in musician-themed games. And this one just really seems cool. It's Symphony No. 9. Players are rich nobles of the 18th century. And you'll be the patron to various different musicians. In return, you're going to be gaining ownership to their works. Sounds cool. Now, you'll be taking donation cubes from 6 different musicians from a career track, which will basically change the current reputation of each of those musicians. So sort of like an economy, how things are going to go up and down as you pull those, I'm assuming. And, each space on that track also represents their remaining life. And so they'll actually die when all the cubes are removed, which also sounds kind of morbid, but kind of interesting as well as a mechanism. Now, you'll be discarding donation cubes to acquire, composition tiles from the musicians. And every musician will have sort of a different method of scoring for their composition tiles. So it just seems really interesting. Players will also be blindly donating money to the royal concert, and that combined total will decide, which musicians are invited to perform. So you're trying to make a successful concert with the money from the patrons of the performers, and it's the main income of the game there. So it sounds like it has some interesting things going on. You've got me at theme. The mechanism sounds somewhat interesting. I hope they all sort of meld together well, and that's Symphony No. 9 from Moedius Designs.
Number 5.
Well, while we're talking about sort of musician themes and such, the next one is called Speakeasy Blues from Artana Games. I actually did a preview for the Kickstarter for this last year. This is a light to medium weight. It's a dice placement game for 2 to 4 players. Takes about an hour to play. This comes from the same design team that brought us Sagrada, which, oh my gosh, I love that game. And that game had to do with dice, and this game has to do with dice, so I'm really excited. Plus, the theme, oh my gosh. It takes you back to New York City during the Roaring 20s. You and your fellow players, you'll be running competing gin joints, vying to be the talk of the town. And you got Willie the Lion Smiths at the piano and jazz is in the air. And if you've ever seen any of my videos, when I keep a game and do a saxophone serenade, Willie the Lion Smith is playing my piano and I'm playing some jazz. So this is right up my alley and it looks really cool. You're adding dice from the board to a dice pool. You're taking some off adding it to a pool of dice that are already there. Then you're taking 2 of the same type or color of dice and activating specific actions by those dice. You're building your own speakeasy, which is like a tableau in front of you. You can get some crime cards that you put face down that later you can reveal to do special abilities or hurt your opponents. You're also trying to do some set collections for certain things to give you points and abilities, but only the top abilities active. So sometimes like, oh, I really want to build this set, but it's going to take this ability away. Some tough things to decide about. So a lot of interesting things going on here, and it looks really cool. I'm dying to see the production of this. And this is Speakeasy Blues from Artana Games.
Number 4.
The next one is Good Critters. And if you're looking for this on Board Game Geek, it's one word. I do not know why you would ever put Good Critters as one word that the Board Game Geek search will not pick up if you put it on 2 words, but so be it. It's called Good Critters. It's for 4 to 8 players. It's 30 to 45 minutes. This is one of the next of the Dice Tower Essentials line. I played it with the Dice Tower guys at PAX Unplugged last year. I played a German version of it, and the cards are very boring looking, but the gameplay was really fun. And after looking at what these cards and art look like in this, oh man, it's gorgeous. I love it. I love the animals, all the different things, the items and stuff. So essentially you're criminal critters who are pulling off heists and fighting over the loot. So one person's going to be the boss, and they can distribute loot however they want to all the different people the way that they desire. But it's the crew that basically has the final say, because everyone's going to be simultaneously voting on things. They can try to overthrow things. You're trying to guess what other people might be doing. And so if they don't like it, you know, you'll end up be splitting this loot up. And so if you don't like that, essentially you'll tell the boss, take a hike, and you'll be putting some other critter in charge. So you can take over who's the boss can do different things. You're trying to you're basically trying to get the most money at the end of the game. I don't remember a lot of details other than the simultaneous voting, throwing people under the bus, and trying to make somebody else the leader and trying to do things that you don't think other people are going to do. A little bit of guessing, tacticalness there. But it was a lot of fun, I remember, and seeing it in this artwork is going to be awesome. And that's Good Critters from Arcane Wonders.
Number 3.
The next one is from Bezier Games, and this is called Ultimate Werewolf Legacy. This is for 8 to 16 players. It's 30 to 60 minutes per session. Now, Ultimate Werewolf Legacy uses gameplay similar to the original Ultimate Werewolf, but you no longer have a single standalone game, as players and the village itself have attributes that are retained between different games. Now, there's different events that take place, in the first games, and those will have a ripple effect through the remaining games. So early things will affect things that go forward. So if you make a bad decision early on, it can haunt the village for years to come. Now there's an oversized 80-page diary. I got a chance to hold this thing at Origins. Oh my gosh, it's amazingly produced. It's big and heavy, this huge book. Feels good to open it up, turn the pages. Now it's structured into 5 distinct chapters. Now each of those 3 games is 1 chapter. So as well, there's also an introductory preface game that you can play in a single session. Now players can jump in or out for any of the individual sessions, but ideally, they'll play all the sessions in a specific chapter. And you can do all 3 of them in one sitting. You could do it as quick as 90 minutes. You could have all 3 of them done, but maybe a little bit longer. Now, each chapter can be played in a single evening, but at the end of the 16-game session campaign, the diary will be basically a record of exactly what happened in your village. It will be different from everyone else's, and ultimately, who is responsible for what became of them. There's also going to be replay packs that contain, a new diary, an additional set of family cards that will be sold separately, allowing you to basically play through the entire campaign more than once. And this is going to be at the Bezier Games booth, Ultimate Werewolf Legacy, and it's Ted Alspach and Rob Davio, Davio is the Legacy, master, and Ted is the Werewolf master. So those 2 things are sort of a dream team here.
Number 2.
Now the next one is from Gamewright. It's called Forbidden Sky. It's 2 to 5 players, takes 60 minutes. Now this is the 3rd game in a series of games. Back in 2010, Forbidden Island came out. This was sort of like Pandemic's little brother, even though it came out after Pandemic. And this was a great co-op game. This was actually the game that got me back into hobby games from when I was a kid, got me back into the games big time. The second in the series was Forbidden Desert, and then this one's now Forbidden Sky. So I'm dying this. Matt Leacock is an awesome designer, and Gamewright always does a great job with these. Now, the Forbidden Island was a 30-minute game. Forbidden Desert was a 45-minute game, and this is a 60-minute game. So I am hoping by that it's giving us an indication that this is going to be the one that has the most going on, the heaviest. Maybe there's some more difficulty to it as well, but I still actually even loved Island better than Desert because it was so streamlined and just so tense the whole time. So in this, there's not a lot of information out, unfortunately, but all I know is that basically you'll be exploring a mysterious platform that floats in the center of a savage storm, and you're connecting a circuit of cables to launch a secret rocket. And then hopefully, all before you're struck by lightning or blown off the depths below. That's sort of the text that they've given us. But new things like collectively planning a terrain using only limited information and constructing a real electrical circuit are two features of the game. Whatever that means in actual mechanisms, I have no idea. There's not a lot of information available. But it's in the Forbidden series. It's Matt Leacock. It's Game Right. I'm dying to play this, and that's Forbidden Sky.
Number 1.
All right, well, number 1. Now, before I get to number 1, I do want to mention I do know that there's going to be an announcement from a popular publishing company, whose games sell very well. And this is a new one that they're going to be announcing the week of Gencon, probably a few days before Gencon. And I'm going to be putting out a video about this shortly before Gencon, maybe right before Gencon. And it's going to be a pretty big deal, I think. And so I want you to keep your eyes open for that. That would have made this most anticipated list for sure. But since I can't mention it at the time of recording this video or even the time of you watching this video, that kind of stinks that I can't say anything more. But I did want to let you know this so that if you're interested in what this might be, go ahead and subscribe to my channel because I'll be having a video coming out the week of Gen Con as to what that is. And it would have been very high on this list. So number 1, this is a game that is actually a reprint from Renegade Game Studios. It's called Gunky Mono, it's set in feudal Japan. The Gunky Mono translates to War Tales. Now the original game, it's designed by Jeffrey D. Allers. The original game was called Heartland. And this is a tile laying game for 2 to 5 players. It takes about 45 to 60 minutes to play. I'd call it sort of a gateway, maybe a gateway plus style game. Essentially, you're laying tiles, and as you lay tiles, you're going to be scoring points as to how many other things around that tile of the same type. You could just call it color in this case, but it's going to be different cavalry of the war tales, like the cavalry, the archers, things like that. But think of them as colors. The more of the colors that are adjacent to the color you place, the more points you'll get. But then the next player might play one and get all those points plus 1. The next player plays on all those ones plus 1. But when you play tiles, you don't have to take the points now. You can actually take points to move up tracks. And those are basically points later that are going to allow you to drop a stronghold on the largest part of the board and score points on that every turn for the rest of the game that's your turn. Which makes it interesting because you drop a stronghold and other players are going to start trying to cut off that stronghold, so you're getting less and less points. So it's really interesting. It's super simple and streamlined. You're playing a tile and either taking points now or trying to move up tracks for points later. But you're also trying to cut each other off and stop each other from scoring a lot of points. It's just a very streamlined, it's sort of an abstracted tile laying game that's very mean. You're cutting people off, but it's streamlined and it's very good. Even today, this would be in my top 20 of all time. That's how much I love this tile laying game. And now it's being brought so that more people can play it because a lot of people haven't played the original, and it's coming in a cool theme, and Renegade does things well, so I'm sure they're going to do a great job with it. But I also must disclaim that I actually was the one that brought the original game to Renegade Game Studios to kind of ask them if they'd reprint it. This was about 2 years ago at Origins, so I just wanted to just disclose that I did have a hand in getting this to the market, but it's also why I'm so excited about it, and I'm excited for you to see it because I love this game so much. All right, well, there you have it. The top 10 most anticipated games. I hope you found some things that you might want to go research some more about, maybe helping making yourself to the list. And again, if you haven't watched my other video about Gen Con games, ones that would have been on this list, about 5 or 6 of them would have been on this list, that are now on a video called the best games that releasing at Gen Con that I've already played. That link is below here to check that out. And if you want to hear about that cool game that's being announced early, the Gen Con week, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss that. This has been the Game Boy Geek, helping you find and enjoy the next board game you'll love.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com.